everyone, my name is Alyssa and this is everything that you need to know about polymer clay. So what is polymer clay? Polymer clay is a clay that's made out of plastic and it retains color even after baking. So that's why it's used in a lot of arts and crafts. Today I wanted to do a little quick rundown of the tools that I use and the clay that I prefer. There's lots of different kinds of clay out there, so I would like for you all to know which ones that I like the most. So yeah, let's get into it. So how I first started making clay things was, I'm pretty sure my parents got me this clay set from Costco or something for a Christmas present, and ever since then I started making clay. So I'd like to share some of the things that I learned over the years and the stuff that I like. So let's get into it. So this kit came with a couple of things. It came with some tools, the essential tools like the blade, the roller, and then these other ones that I use to, make smaller details. It also came with some arrangements of colored clay, which I've used over the years. So this is just the box that I keep. So some of the things in this box contain my pastels, my tools, my favorite brand of clay, Sculpey Premo, my tan colored clay for food items, my white clay for my animals and whatever white clay that I need, and then additionally some of my clay that I've acquired over the years and I keep in little containers to separate the colors. So I had a couple people asking me what kind of clay that I use. To be specific, I use Sculpey Premo clay. This clay is great to mix with other clays like Craft Smart Polymer Clay. This one is probably, I'm pretty sure it's cheaper than this brand of Sculpey. So, do what you gotta do. Whatever is the most affordable might be the best option for you. But what I like to do is take this transparent Premo clay and mix it with another clay like this, because this clay will counteract the firmness of this one, and this one will kind of create a sort of like shiny look to the clay, slightly transparent, and overall just makes it easier to work with, since this one, as you can see, like once it heats up, it starts to become super malleable, which can be quite difficult at times to work with. Like, for example, you can see my fingerprints in the clay, which if you're going for that look, then great, but usually I'm not, so I like to mix it with this one. For baking the clay, I would recommend just using the instructions on whatever clay that you buy, but what I tend to do is underbake it. So just in case I have some errors or something I want to fix, and then you can always rebake it, which is the great part about polymer clay. I usually do like 250 degrees in the oven for like 3 to 4 minutes, and then I check to see if the clay is baked through, since most of the charms that I'm working with are super small. To color the clay, since I do buy translucent clay, what I do is I shave off a bit of the pastels that I have, and then I mix it into the clay with my hands. That way I can control what sort of color I want and essentially the firmness, especially if I mix it with some other clays. In terms of tools, there are some essential tools that I think every polymer clay artist should use if you are interested in starting to make polymer clay things. So firstly, we have a brush. This is good if you're using pastels and you want to add a little bit of color. I use this when I'm adding blush to my charms, or just, making a gradient for my strawberries. A blade. A blade is necessary to shape the clay into certain shapes. Like if you want to make something more straight, you need a straight edge to sort of nudge the clay into that shape, and a blade to cut things and to section them. Next, we have just a regular shaping tool. This one has a soft edge, which is good for nudging the clay, and then it has a little ball point, which is good for making perfectly circular indents on your clay animals or items. Next, we have this pin tool. It's good for really fine details since it's super thin and quite sharp, so be careful. In addition, we have a roller, which is great for rolling out the clay and mixing it, but this is quite essential for many things. Also getting an even roll or even like size of your clay. In order to keep your clay charms clean, you also need alcohol. I just have this 70% isopropyl alcohol. Well, I've never said that out loud. I use this to clean the surface of my artboard with, you know, good old paper towels. Yeah, if you can find a more sustainable option, you should do that, or let me know how you do it, but I've been using paper towels. So there are two methods to keeping your clay clean. You can either use alcohol and a Q-tip, where you just dip a bit of alcohol onto the Q-tip and then you sort of scrub away at the dust on your polymer clay charm. The second and my preferred way of getting dust off the charms is using sandpaper. So what I do is I take a little piece of sandpaper and I sand down the charm, which I find is more effective when I'm using this mixture of Sculpey and Craft Smart clay. I find that alcohol doesn't work the best when trying to rub it off with a Q-tip. So I prefer sandpaper, especially since I'm using UV resin and I can cover up all my mistakes after that. If you're going to be working with polymer clay, you probably also need a flat surface to work on. This is from Michaels. It wasn't too expensive actually. I think it was around $15. This board was great because you can measure out the size of the clay using the grid, and you could get it dirty without having to worry about, you know, your desk or whatever surface you're working on. So I would recommend a board, but you could also use any flat surface like a piece of glass or a piece of plastic, anything that can be cleaned really well and you can avoid getting dust on. So yeah, those are things that I would recommend for work surfaces. So if you're interested in glazing your charms, I would recommend using UV resin. It hardens really well and it protects the charms super nicely so that they come out all nice and shiny like this. The UV resin that I use, I just bought off of Amazon. You could use pretty much any resin. I haven't found one that doesn't work, so any that you find will probably do the job. With resin, you also have to have a light. With resin, you also have to have a light, so I have this one. It has 3 modes, which is super nice, and you can just plug it into the wall so you don't need batteries. But yeah, this one is great because it has lights on the top and the bottom, so you get like that sort of surrounding light for your charms. Yeah, I would recommend when you are using resin to get a clamp to clamp onto your charms and then hold it underneath the lamp and sort of rotate it so that you don't form any drips with the resin, because once it touches the light it will start to harden, and if part of it is uneven then you'll get an uneven surface for your charm, which is not the best result. In addition, resin is really toxic and you do not want to breathe it, so to be safe you need a respirator. I will link one in the description, but any that filters out sort of gases will work really well. And you also need to wear gloves. Protect thy skin. Resin can seep into your skin, which is, you know, it's not very good. It's plastic. So yeah, be safe and have fun. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. I try to make it short and simple. I'll link all of the products that I recommend in the description. You can also check out my Etsy shop and my Instagram. I'll link it down below. But thank you so much for coming along, and I hope that you will create some beautiful art with polymer clay. Feel free to share it with me on social media. I would love to see it. I'm so excited. And thank you so much. Stay tuned for another video and subscribe. Thank you.